change is inevitable, right? And if we choose to change ourselves, then we're kind of beating the system. Reinvented myself in many ways, but it's always been tough struggle within, that struggle that everybody faces of like having to change. Like everybody wants the comfort. Anybody who's trying to reinvent themselves,
trying to be a better version,
just a few steps to take towards that.
Yeah,
obviously the journey is harder.
Absolutely. People should be more so like concerned with staying stagnant, remaining the same version of themselves. You're supposed to change.
Welcome to the Unfiltered podcast. Is this close enough? Is this good?
Yeah, that's
okay.
Good.
Cool. I'm your host Raf, and this is my co-host Saheer, the engineer.
Yeah. What up, man?
What's good, bro? How are you doing?
Chilling, man. Always. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good. Pretty good.
Yes,
Excited about another episode.
Always, man.
Always. And for those of you who are seeing us for the first time, struggle to get this recorded. I'm Raf, and I'm a first-gen immigrant. I spent the past decade or so building a music brand and a tech consultancy, among many other side hustles. I've also spent this time pretty much wearing all 80% of the hats in the music industry.
Nice.
Recently, I had a baby, and so in the past year or so, I decided to start creating this podcast with my co-host Saheer.
Yeah.
Who's been a sound engineer for the past 20 years.
Jesus.
And he's also an artist.
Yes,
he's
sir.
Prolific artist over here.
Thank you. Humbled.
And he's worked with numerous artists, had a lot of experiences.
Hell yeah.
And he also has a daughter.
Yeah.
So we're really making this content for my son and his daughter.
Yep.
Because when they're gonna grow up, they're gonna Google us. We just want them to see something positive, something
Exactly.
valuable from us. And if you guys get some value out of this too, then that's awesome. That's the icing on the fucking cake.
Let's go.
That being said, I'm thinking about the audience, 18-year-olds or 22-year-olds with no kids. They're like, man, what is he? What is he even talking about, right?
Shit, bro.
Being a dad requires so much growth and reinvention. You can't be a dad and not reinvent yourself or be a new type of a person.
It happens.
Even a little bit, even the dads who are not involved with the kids, even the worst dads, even they have to change, right?
Oh, man, hope so.
Right?
Yeah.
But you have a lot of experience with reinvention, as an artist.
Prior to being a dad. But I would say you're right in that saying that I think dad is the most forward-facing transition.
Right.
I feel like anybody could make. I think parenthood, as they would say.
Yeah.
So I think at this stage right now, in terms of creatively speaking, musically speaking, I've gone through phases that I can bookmark in my head now,
Mm-hmm.
And I think even between just albums,
Right.
people just go through life, you're supposed to go through life,
Right.
and then hopefully it's changing you for the better.
Right. Yeah. And you've also reinvented yourself in many ways, where it's after high school you had to be a new Saheer for college, and in college you were doing dance competitions with organized teams that you were leading. That required some reinvention, learning how to lead. Hey, what the fuck am I gonna do here?
No,
with this bunch of college kids?
Yeah, you can't be meek. You can't be shy.
Right. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're dancing, for God's sake. You can't be shy.
And you're you're putting a lot of people's time on the line.
Right. Right.
It's got to be worth it.
It requires a lot of reinvention, and
it does.
After college, you were knee deep in your musician artist career.
Absolutely.
Which began in your college, and then you kind of took that to the next level afterwards. So many reinventions, and then became a dad. That's a reinvention.
That's
even before that, getting married.
Yes.
Man has to grow. You can't be a
Right after that ring got put on, you did that, when you took that step, and you realize now that side of you that was single, so to speak, is no longer. Now there is at any given situation, now there's two of us, and that's an adjustment for sure. For some, who maybe haven't been in long-term relationships before they get married. My wife and I were dating for some time before we actually got married. So yeah, like the couple side, becoming a couple, you know, that's reinventing you. Like that's you're no longer just the single version of yourself.
Right.
And whatever you do directly affects this other person.
Right.
So yeah,
exactly,
takes,
bro.
That takes a little bit of change, man.
Yeah,
but like
a lot
yourself as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I've had to go through so many reinventions in my life. You know,
same ones that you pointed out on my side, like
and
coming over, right?
Yeah, first gen immigrant
yeah.
for me. Like it began with reinvention. My life here in the U.S. began with the new Raf. You know, it was just brand new Raf. The old Raf couldn't survive.
No,
you know, we needed a new one. You know,
yeah, that was built for this environment.
Yeah,
exactly. That was ready to take on new challenges.
Yeah.
That's something I really admire about you, bro. Like, not to, you know what I mean, cut the momentum too much, but
no,
like,
you're good.
Yeah, like you've always embraced, it seems like, new challenges, you know?
Right.
And letting yourself be different, you know, be elastic with your mind, with your mindset, you know, like just
right. And you know,
really dope.
The truth is, like, I haven't always been so malleable, and so like, you know, like, I've obviously tried many different things and, you know, reinvented myself in many ways, but it's always been a tough struggle within, you know, that struggle that everybody faces of like having to change. Like nobody really, like everybody wants the comfort.
But do you feel yourself changing though? Do you feel like you made a conscious change?
Yes. For me, like I'm like, when I'm ready for change, I'm fucking ready for change. I'm done with the previous life completely. And I'm like, that guy has to end. Like that guy's gonna die now. And there's gonna be a new Raf today. You know, like, I'm that kind of change. Like it's always been tough, you know. And there's an inner struggle, you know. And I think that's why, you know, we're so well equipped to do this episode. You know, that's what's exciting me. Like I went through all those to build up to this moment where I'm trying to say that, like, that's why I'm so excited about this, because we're experienced with reinvention.
100%.
And you know, I've studied people who have been reinventing themselves, and so many of my friends reach out with the same type of questions around reinvention. You know, it's like the other day, a friend of mine was saying that, you know, I have these ideas. I want to, you know, I want to accomplish these ideas, but I'm stuck at a job. Like every day I have to go to this job, but like, this art that they really wanted to pursue, you know. And so there are some simple steps that people can take to like just start, you know, putting votes towards that identity, right? Like people can start doing a little bit of that art that that, you know, they're so passionate about. So that's the kind of stuff I told them. But, you know, the answer I got was like, yeah, you know, I want to do all this, but who has the time? You know, like I'm stuck at my job. I don't really know how to, you know, there were a bunch of things that they were saying.
Right.
But to me, you know, that's just another way of talking about reinvention. You know, it's, my friend was just trying to reinvent.
But they weren't allowing themselves to see themselves.
Yeah, they weren't allowing themselves to see themselves.
I think that's the first step, right?
Yeah.
Like knowing that it's possible.
Right.
So hopefully with whatever, you know, we can offer here, people can see that it's like, it's possible. At really any age.
At any age, you're right.
Any phase.
You're exactly right, you know, and even, you know, this topic of reinvention is close to me, you know, so I've been studying people who reinvent themselves for a while. Like whenever I read anybody's autobiography or listen to somebody's podcast, I connect with the people who are talking about reinvention, you know, and so it attracts me, you know. Through this process, man, like, you know, Rich Roll.
No.
So he's got a dope podcast, and he's one of the most downloaded, listened to podcasts in the world.
You said, you know? Rich Roll?
Rich Roll, yeah.
Okay, all right.
He was a lawyer a long time ago, and up until age 40, he was a lawyer. He was an attorney at law, and he had a drinking problem. Like, you know, he had some personal issues and stuff like that he didn't deal with, and so that turned into a drinking problem that was like a daily thing, you know. It originated from college, you know, from high school onwards, and it was an intense problem for him. And so he wanted to change, you know, and age 40, he decided that he's going to change everything.
Wow.
Like he didn't want to do the lawyer thing anymore.
He just wanted flip the switch at that point.
Just flipped completely. At age 40, he became a triathlon athlete, you know?
Okay. Oh, so, shit.
So like long distance marathons and like
there's like 3 different things. That they like.
Yeah, I think biking, running,
and swimming,
some
shit like that. Yeah,
probably
so you gotta like swim across a lake or something like.
Intense,
something
crazy.
Yeah.
And dude, through that process, he started own podcast.
Yeah.
You know, talking about men's health and health stuff, and as well as things that he's passionate about.
Right.
He's interviewed like some of the biggest people in the world. He's just reinvented himself to become this new person. You know, he became an author after that. You know, somebody who was a lawyer and an alcoholic. He switched everything, you know?
Wow, so he took responsibility. That's really important, though.
He did.
That, you know, that you take responsibility.
Yeah.
You be of sound mind in that way. Because a lot of alcoholics, you know, they also have that issue in that the perception is warped.
Right.
Whereas this person did want to change, and they allowed themselves to see themselves differently.
Right.
And I think that is that first step that probably like a lot of folks struggle with. You know?
Right. Yeah.
Like,
we all feel the same feelings.
Like we talked about this, I think, earlier, in an earlier podcast about the distance between knowing what you have to do and then actually doing something. Right. It's actually quite long. Yeah. It's not like just like, oh, the next day type shit. You know, like it does take, you know, little increments of change. Right.
Yeah, it's, you know, and change is inevitable, right? And if we choose to change ourselves, then we're kind of beating the system. In the way I think about it is that, you know, it's like, if I can change first, you know, go through the pain, then then life, the universe, God doesn't have to like change me by force.
Right.
You know?
Which those things happen to some folks. Yeah.
Those things happen to me too. Like, I think we all get both, right? Like sometimes something will happen and it's like, holy shit, I have to change everything now.
But that is, that's life.
And then sometimes it's by choice, you know, we choose to do it.
Some shit just happens.
Yeah.
And then like other times you can choose to. So you're right. Like if you choose more often than not,
it's a better thing.
Yeah. Then you can prime your mind to be like ready for change. Right. And not feel so lost. In your ways. I think like, but it's also like a way to sustain, right? Like to eventually, like you said, it's inevitable. Right. So I think like brands and ideas and things, they have to change as things move along, as the world changes.
Right. And change can be, you know, scary. You know, it is scary. Change is scary. You know, when COVID happened, 2020, it was fucking scary. It was like at the beginning, it was just like, what the hell is happening? You know?
What is this exactly?
Right. And all our friends, like they were all locked in, and everybody, you know, there was this. Everybody was starting to feel this, you know, they were all questioning their lives, you know, and people were starting to understand that, you know, I'm pretty much stuck in a corporate job every day, you know. Now like I'm kind of free at home, like working from home
and doing
you know, and others who weren't in corporate jobs, they were asking other questions where, you know, everything has changed and what are we gonna do now, you know.
Right.
It was like
that was a very precarious time for folks who like, I guess, weren't ready to change,
right,
or didn't have the ability to reinvent themselves in their mind.
Right.
And then the world forces you to, like, and hopefully they figured themselves out. Hopefully people are on the uptick now.
Right.
However, that side did, the other side of 2020, before 2020 happened, even then, like, you could feel just like you had to grow up. I was approaching 30, you know, like things are starting to like really set in on you in terms of what you're good at, how you can add value.
Right.
And then like, you know, you do things in terms of what's in your control, you know, and then all of a sudden COVID happens, something that's just out of our control. I remember though also like Kobe passed away shortly before that. That was crazy. I remember when that happened and how like everything, even then, like it started feeling like, oh man, things are really outside of your control.
Right.
Life is gonna change. People have to adapt to new realities, you know, that you weren't expecting.
Right.
And you know, I was in Hollywood when that happened, and you could see like the tone of the whole city change. And like just the level of murals that went up, like it was pretty intense. So I think you have the right idea, I think, in terms of continuing to reinvent yourself. But like you said earlier, right, that you have a certain approach to this, in that you don't acknowledge who was before, and that person died, and that like you're this new Raf.
Right. Yeah.
I also think though, but like, don't you feel like you can access sides of you still? Right.
Yeah, for sure.
that you had previous, like maybe that was your only, not only thing, but maybe that was the new thing that you were offering at that time in your life.
Sure.
And then something new came along, but that new skill set that you acquired, the experience that you acquired, that doesn't go away.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Like obviously, I've reinvented myself many times, and it's still exciting to access some of my older selves from time to time.
Right.
But like a caterpillar which turns into a butterfly, you just gotta like let go of the past, and like you just gotta make sure that it doesn't turn into baggage,
Sure.
When certain parts of my past turns into like a baggage or something that I haven't dealt with, at those times I know that I just have to separate from it and deal with it and then separate from it,
Yeah.
But instead of being vague, we can definitely get into so many of these stories, bro, obviously.
Okay, yeah.
Like for example, what comes to my mind when I think about reinvention is like, I'm obviously an immigrant, so there was a lot of change for that, but fast forward after some time after college, when I was in Kansas City, I remember, just feeling like so inspired to do something good with my life. It was after college, I had great ideas, but it was really difficult to like make those happen. I was building the music brand, and it wasn't profitable at that time yet.
Sure.
So I was also trying to create a company in the health sector, in the health industry, healthcare industry.
Right.
And then, but the thing that was keeping the lights on was like web development side hustle. Yeah, the side hustle was paying some of the bills, And I remember the feeling. It was like, bills weren't being paid. Collectors, that
damn
fucking like water got cut off a few times.
Shit.
Until I got paid for the next website that I sold, and then pay the water bill.
Oh my god,
that fucked up feeling. And knowing things need to change, but like, hey, I've got these great ideas. There was progress, but it wasn't profitable yet.
That's incredibly difficult, bro.
It's a difficult place to be in.
Damn.
Yeah. And you feel like scared to change, like you don't know how to change.
Or you don't think it's like when things are getting really difficult, it's hard to imagine a reality that isn't difficult.
Yeah, and in what way am I gonna change to improve this? Like, not sure of that at that point.
Sure.
So it was like so many questions.
Damn.
But I knew I had to change. This couldn't carry on, it was really bad.
This isn't gonna be like forever. No.
I couldn't, and as an immigrant, like you're thinking so many more things. It's just like, I came to this country for a better life. What the fuck am I doing with that time now?
Right.
I love the work that I was doing. I wasn't like wasting my time.
No.
But like I have to like have an income, and like the American
dream. You have to show results.
Yeah, you gotta.
Period. Like you don't get kudos like that
just for hustling
for
and grinding.
Effort. Yeah.
Good job.
No.
I mean, in a way, yes, good job, but like we need the money. You know what I mean?
You can't eat off of props, bro. I'm sorry. Like this is why we tax what we tax. Like this is it's a business, like this is a business driven country.
Right.
If you're gonna be in America, like and you're gonna want to get ahead now in 2023, it doesn't just suffice, you know what I mean, to have one thing that you do now for the rest of your life, and you can pay your mortgage and like go on vacation and you know what I mean, elevate your lifestyle. That reality just isn't there.
Right.
And so for people, like you said, like sometimes the universe just forces you to change.
Right.
And I think it's better if you can do this yourself.
Right. Yes.
at your discretion.
Right.
Absolutely. Man.
Facts,
so you were saying, sorry, I didn't mean to off track us here. You were saying about like being an immigrant, and you're thinking about so many things.
Yeah.
Like different things.
Yeah, you don't want to let your family down either. Like
that's what came to my mind.
Yeah, you're thinking about like I'm making all this sacrifice, and I'm just like struggling here. Like that's not the story any immigrant wants to say. They don't want to say it. No. Everybody wants to say I went to the new country and then I fucking established myself.
I did it. I did it.
Everybody said I couldn't do it. I did it though. That's the story everybody wants.
You know what I normally get is the I came here with $12 in my pocket or some shit.
That's the story.
And then magically you know, we've gotten this 5-bedroom in the suburbs, you know, where like we're going on vacation and shit. It's like, you know, maybe to our parents' credit, like, and to immigrants in general, like that, you can't tell your story and live it, you know, like you have to really do have to, I guess, put your head down and work. And that's why they do have this, you know, these results to show for it. Why you have the results to show for it. It's because like they weren't really like talking about it. They weren't really broadcasting, you know, like them grinding. Whereas now I think we're getting to a place, or I am at least, as like am I a second generation? No, first generation American.
You're second gen.
I'm a second gen? Oh. No. Is that what it is?
Yeah, your parents are first gen immigrants. They came here.
Okay. Okay.
So you were born here.
So I'm born here. Okay. So second generation. Yes. Yeah. So now I'm in a place where I can at least tell their story. Right. And like get to a place where, you know, people can have some semblance of understanding that like they had to change so much about like who they were and who they were to their parents and who they were to their community back home in order to make it in a place that is completely alien to them. Right. And that has to, you know, now pay the bills, like you said, and now has to provide a home for not one kid but two. And like that to me, like just like how your parent, now that we're parents, you know, like thinking about our babies, you know what I mean, like away from our home, and just like that's just unimaginable for me, like just thinking about it now. So that's props to you, man, like the fact that you worked through those levels of, you know, like hardship. I mean, but what was it though, would you say, that pushed you through? Yeah, you know, great question. You know, it felt like inevitable that I needed to change. I couldn't keep this up, you know, and not being able to pay bills, not being able to, even though in Kansas City where I lived, the bills were very low compared to today. We're in Southern California. Everything's different. Yeah. Like, the scale's all the way different. Yeah. But that's true. You know, and you know, what drove me to change is that, you know, I always wanted a better life, you know, like I'm an immigrant here, and it was unacceptable for me to like just accept mediocrity, you know. And why it's unacceptable is because like my dad, you know, he's from, you know, we're from Bangladesh, and he was from a village in Bangladesh. Okay. And he didn't have his parents for part of his life. Wow. After that, he became a doctor. He left that village, you know, during a time of a war. 1971 was a war, and he was going to college at that time, med school. Oh, wow. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, all that trouble. Left that, went to Saudi Arabia, like, after becoming a doctor, he went to Saudi Arabia in the 80s as an expat, you know, and spent, like, you know, a fruitful career there for, like, 25 plus years. Wow. And then he retired. For me, I'm just like, where he came from and where I came from, like I grew up in Saudi Arabia, you know. Sure. You know, it's different living than like a village in Bangladesh. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had all the privileges, the amenities, amenities, the best food. You know, like my school was great. You know, our teachers were great. You know, like I've had like good friends. And you had such electricity. A different life. Electricity. I didn't have a war in my backyard. You know, like some small details.
Yeah. Right. It was great. You know, and then how lucky am I to then move to the U.S. You know, like so much privilege in my life. You know, and it's just like I went to college, and you know how many people in this world get to do that? You know, like going to a good college, like you know, to like
unfortunately higher education is a privilege.
Like, around the world, you know, 8 billion people, you know, like I felt that this is an opportunity, this is a privilege for me, you know. That's why I couldn't accept that living, you know, like knocking on the door, tick, 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 you know, and we're scared that it's gonna be like freaking, you know, somebody like with a collector or like something like eviction notice or something, you know. And I was just like, fuck. Can't live this life, you know. This is not why I made all that sacrifice, or my parents. That's stressful as fuck. Fuck that, you know? So that's the why. And the opportunity came because like my brother, like my brother from another mother, you know, like in Minneapolis, he, you know, showed me an opportunity in tech. And he was already working in tech, and there was an opportunity. There was things that I could learn, some technical skills that I could improve by working with him. And so he offered me like some opportunities and some ideas, and I was like, yes, let's just fucking do it. Yeah. Okay. But it was so hard because it was like in Kansas City, I was in the startup community. I was building a nice little startup. I was, doing the web development thing too. Like it was working, like in a way I was selling stuff, but it wasn't enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just needed more and more and more, Yeah.
Right.
And we had a small team of 3 people. So we were like growing, things were happening,
Yeah.
There was the little sprinkles of success,
Right. Little sizzles.
Yeah, little sizzles. This is going to go somewhere, it felt like it, and I just knew I had the hustle. Like, how could it not work? You know what I mean?
Of course.
So but now leaving that and like, I see myself as an entrepreneur at this point, like I'm doing my thing, right? I even was building the music brand,
Right.
But now I have to leave this and go to Minneapolis, where in the middle of North Pole,
totally different
cold
environment.
as shit.
Yeah.
And and get into the corporate space, like corporate world in tech. A little wildly different, than the life I was leading in Kansas City. You know what I mean? It was scary. It was like, I'm gonna lose a part of myself, is what I was afraid of, because I built myself to become this little entrepreneur guy.
And
you
tether that identity
to that
place.
I attached that identity to myself, and I was like, I'm a good networker. I was telling in another episode that it was tough for me at the beginning to like talk to some of these people in Kansas City, like some of the entrepreneurs and small business owners and customers and clients. It was hard. But like I grew over that, and I was now like a networker. I was like, no, I knew people now. I worked hard, and I know all these people now.
Nice.
I'm getting invited to places, and it's just like, this is gonna work out. Like I know it. But how long could I do that? Like the bills are not being paid. Couldn't carry that on.
Yeah, those things don't wait.
No, it's frightening. That phase is so scary.
Yeah.
And I imagine it's the same kind of thing that a trucker feels. When if somebody like in the audience was a trucker for like many years, a
Shout
decade.
out to the truckers.
Trucking is a fun job for some people. You get to listen to music, watch some movies. You can sleep in these things, and you're on the road. All like some people like that. Enjoyable. But imagine doing that for like over a decade, and then you had a kid, and now you love hanging out with the kid.
Yeah.
Oh God, I gotta go on the road again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, but I mean, also like you're right. Like even before the kid, though, like trucking itself, also as fun as those things are, there is that very grueling side to it, which is like being at truck stops, and then like traveling for long hours
and sleeping in
the sleeping
cabin
and sleeping
like
in the truck. That's a pro and a con itself. And I think like. Yeah, like when now you have a kid now, and your reality is different.
Yeah, and that point is scary because like this trucking has given you the paychecks all these years. Now what are you gonna do?
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, like I'm gonna do something else now. Like I want to hang out with my kid, but that is important. I've heard this story over and over, right?
Yeah, but that should motivate people. Yeah, hopefully.
But it's hard.
It is.
Imagine being a teacher. For many years and like not, getting like the shit pay, right? Like unfortunately,
right.
Like
it's terrible.
Yeah, terrible pay. Needing to change, having a family. What are you gonna do? All you know is how to teach, right? It's hard. It's very hard. But some people do it. Like Miss Rachel done it, right?
Yeah,
Miss Rachel's a teacher.
Yeah.
Now she's a millionaire making YouTube content.
Minting. And with her husband, the musical tutor as well. I think he also taught as well.
Yeah,
man. Yeah. But that happened later in life. Like, but that's because tough. they grew into a certain space. I think. Right. Like being a teacher, and they're like, yo, like we don't have anything online that I'm teaching. Yeah. Let us be it.
They dared themselves to have the vision and have the dream.
Allowing themselves to see themselves in that space. Yeah. I think a lot of people, if they just did that, if they just exercise wild imaginations from every now and then, they could see that like things are possible, like to change in from within and reinvent who you are, like your identity and the things that you do. So you're not attached to just one thing solely, and not dependent on one thing working. Because I think inevitably everybody in life has to change.
Yeah, you have to change and grow.
Yeah.
And if you're, for me, biggest fear is like when I see myself like not changing, not growing, like a pattern.
See yourself getting stagnant.
Yeah, stagnant. Yeah. I'm just like, something. This is not feeling
something's
good.
Got to shake.
Yeah, this is not good. This happened to me a few years ago, like a number of years ago. When I was telling you the story of Kansas City, all the stuff, I was like probably 23 or something, or maybe 24.
Okay.
But like when I was like 26, 27, like in that corporate space and doing a number of things, I remember there was a period where I was like this whole 9 months or 10 months where I was like pretty much getting stagnant on the stuff that I was doing. And I was getting into this like cycle of like coming home from work and playing FIFA like for a fuck ton of hours.
Shit.
And then just every day, same thing every day.
Damn.
And then like 9 months later, I was like, whoa,
holy crap, man, 9 months.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Like this is fun, but wait.
I don't think this is a little too much.
Yeah, this is a
damn 9 months.
Yeah, maybe not every day, but like it was.
No, it was.
It
like
took 9 months for me to realize like
so
I'm spending a lot of time on FIFA.
What was the? Why'd you?
I was man, that was that's a different story, I guess. But like there was a period where I was taking a break from the music brand because I needed to just take a breather and like think about, like I was burned out, one, and two, I was starting to question. I had these music dreams since I was a teenager. Yeah. In my late 20s, or mid 20s. Yeah. I started to question. Is this just a teenage dream or is this real?
This is real.
So I wanted to step away to find myself in certain things.
Yeah.
To ask that question. And I told myself, I'll give myself a few months to like 6 months or so to like really think about like, do I really like this music brand that, the direction it's going, and my life, like the direction it's going with music. Right.
So like, I mean, there always is a time where you're like questioning where all of my decisions have led me to right now. Right. And damn, I can't imagine, like having to think about that. But and then FIFA was there to like provide some think time,
some soothing. Yeah. That was good. It was good that I questioned it, because after that I got the answers I needed. That was perfect.
So you're mulling it over in your head subconsciously. Sometimes you might just need a break.
That's
like
And I felt a hole in my life where it was like I need to like pursue something like that. Yeah. Because I was like building that tech consultancy, so I didn't feel bad about not being entrepreneurial. Okay. So I was wondering, like, could I just lean into this shit?
Okay. For now? Let's.
But then it was like, no, I need some like creative pursuits.
Something like that lights the fire, so to speak.
So that was that, but change is inevitable. Even for me to come, I used to live in Minneapolis. I moved to California. Because of this change. I want to change. This podcast. It's come after a period of growth. Yeah. Like I had to shed a certain side of me. Yeah. Before coming to this podcast,
to be able to speak about absolutely, to be able to speak about yourself. Yeah.
Reinvent myself. Wow.
So that's a recent reinvention.
Ed Milet says, you're most equipped to teach the old version of you, or like help the old version of you. Right. Previous version of you can help them grow. So like in the audience, there's a lot of people who was our old versions, and that's why, we're best equipped to talk about this, even for you, before being a dad, you were a different Saheer.
100%.
Could that Saheer have raised this
hell
daughter?
No, come on, dude, no. I think, man, and I feel like that first crack in the old you that the shell is, was when, wifey told me that this is what's happening. And then that's like that first, chisel hammer into cracking like whatever's been built up, up until then. I also liken it to like starting a whole new book. Instead of like adding a new chapter to your life. Interesting. Because I feel like now the characters are different. I feel like
volume 2.
The motivations are different. Yes.
Okay, right.
The push is different, and people's opinions now matter less considerably.
Oh yeah.
And it's really about what does my family think of me? That's really what matters the most. And I want to do things that make them proud and allow me to be happy around them. Me to be happy around them. So the old Saheer just thought so like I think I had a pedestrian view of like my existence. Yeah. Whereas now, like, it's a much more an appreciative one, and something that doesn't like take things for granted as much as, like, you know, the single Saheer did, that like, you know, I could do that tomorrow, or like I'll get at that, you know, in the future or whatever. Right. The future is now. And I think that side of Saheer is very different. Right. And I think that's something like that wouldn't have happened if I didn't have a child. So I think that's one thing, parenthood, everybody can, and if you're fortunate enough to be a parent out there, can relate to. But like, you talked about the phases that you went through, I mean, before parenthood, like those are no less realer, you know, when you're going from high school to college, and you realize how much your high school self does not matter here. And you really have to like sink or swim now in a different way. Yeah, absolutely. Like, you being a senior at high school, it doesn't matter. Like, you used to be, you know, top dog in that small campus, but like now, like, your career is in question. Now what you're gonna do for the rest of your life is in question. So now who you are as a person is in question. That being said, the first year of my college experience was quite turbulent in that, like, I don't know what was happening. Like, I had to, speaking of being a different person, like, I had to really be more proactive in even just doing my homework. Like, the teacher wasn't going to tell us where what the homework was. It was going to get posted somewhere, and I had to go log in and see what the homework was. Bro, for the first 3 weeks, I didn't do English homework because I didn't know there was any. And everyone kept coming to class with their homework. And I'm like, yo, she didn't say anything in class about homework. And now we're all exchanging. I would never have a worksheet, right? And then my teacher was like, yo, you, Saheer, can you stay after? Like, just I need to talk to you. And I was like, yeah, sure, what's up? And she's like, is there a reason you're not doing homework that I'm asking you to do? Like, is there a problem? Do you have a problem with the curriculum? And shit? I'm like, no, where are they getting? And she's like, you need to know that this is where you go for all your homework now. This is where you're And she told me, like, you know, bless her heart there, she didn't have to, but like, yeah, I had to shed that kid side of me. I couldn't be naive anymore, you know. I couldn't be like, I couldn't plead ignorance. Like, you really had to get out there and get it. And from then on, like, I was always more vigilant. I tried to read as much as I could, you know, like, look at signs, like, all that kind of stuff. Like, it just happens because of experiences like that, where you realize, like, oh shit, like, the life that I assumed, it's not always like that. Like, now there's a new route to classes. Now there's a new timetable. Like, you know, like, you're gonna have to manage your time differently. You're gonna have to learn how to manage your time. Right? Like, and then, damn, just add in the whole social aspect of going to college, you know, and like dealing with people now from all walks of life. You know, like, you went to a university that had people come from all over the world, right? And were you in like an international program? Was that like a thing, or like you just attended,
I was just
like
in international clubs and stuff like that, you know?
Well, yeah, I did, yeah,
those things, but not like,
because there was like in Riverside there was like an international dorm and stuff.
Oh, sure.
And like, and like, that was like just a separate place where people who came from different, you know, sides of the country, like, they stayed there. Nice. Whereas, like, yeah, like, just being in a place where people are coming from all kinds of perspectives, and now you have to be amongst them, you know, and like, and not alienate yourself too much, like, that requires a whole different being, entirely. Hell yeah. And like, that stuff, it keeps happening in life, like phases, and just like that, 4 years go by. And now you're out of college, and now you're in the real world, where, like, all right, now how are you going to enter the workforce?
You gotta change.
How are you going to keep your career? How are you going to get a career? And so, man, life is constant change. Life is just, and that's the only constant there is. So it behooves you, you know, to like just embrace it, you know, embrace every new experience that comes up.
Exactly. And it's hard, you know. That's a tough thing, you know. Even if you imagine, like, you know, somebody out there who's watching this is in a corporate job right now with a, you know, business idea that they want to lean into, or somebody's out there watching us and thinking, hey, I could do that.
No, you can't.
You know, and they
Get
can.
at it. Yeah.
But it's hard, you know, to leave that corporate job and then change your mindset. It's really hard.
Right.
And then the same thing with an artist. If you imagine like an artist who's been dropping the same genre or the same style of music over and over again since like they were, let's say, 17, and they started this artist path, dropping the same music. Now they're 27, and it's like, man, you know, it's not hitting. I'm not as inspired. I know I could do something else. I do have fans. I don't know what to do. You know, like artists like that can lean into a new version of themselves and rebuild their brand from zero.
And they do it all the time.
They do it all the time, but it's scary when you do it the first time.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. The first time when you're doing it, it's like,
right,
fuck, you know, I have to leave this other side of me.
Yeah,
Are you kidding me? I kind of like that side, you know, right? Like I get rewards for that side of me.
That's yeah. And so like that for sure is something you have to say to yourself, I guess, when you're leaving something that is fruitful like that. You have to say to yourself constantly that change is needed.
Yeah, and if it follow your heart, you know, that's the other thing.
If
like,
you're feeling stagnant,
if you're feeling, if you're feeling like this is great, then it's great. But if you're feeling like something is pulling at you from within, and those are the times when it's actually really hard. When it's like something really pulling at you, it's like harder, you know, to do it.
Yeah,
it's like even this podcast for me, like it's been a dream of mine for many years, you know. But because it's been a dream, it's like earlier, like let's say 5 years ago or like 3 years ago, because it was a dream, it meant more. Like it meant it had to be a certain quality, or like it had to be a certain way, or I wouldn't do it, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But I had to overcome that to start here. You know what I mean? Sure.
Allow yourself to grow on the process.
Allow yourself to grow, you know?
Yeah, within the process. For podcasting itself, that's definitely a wise choice, because there's never going to be a right time like that where you're like, okay, put the mics up now. It's like, everybody figures this out as they go. And I think even for artists, they do that as well. And they evolve and they morph. And there's different stages of even Kendrick Lamar. There's different stages of Drake. There's different stages of J. Cole, definitely. Like you can see that. I think like people should be more so like concerned with staying stagnant. Right. You know, remaining the same version of themselves. You're supposed to change. Right. Things are, and it's better that you do things like, you know, on your accord, rather than life like kind of kicking you in the ass and like telling you like, yo, you need to do this now. Right. So like for me personally, like change, like I can say like when I went to school, like I remember my mom like dropping me off, my mom and dad, like in the minivan driving away. Yeah. And now I'm no longer Saheer who lives at mom's house. I'm Saheer who lives at the dorms. You know what I mean? Right. And I think it took me like 2 weeks, 3 weeks to like really sink in to like what was happening in life. Right. And that is hard. It is. But like it's important that you don't like allow like your present reality to be like, you know, all you
forever
see. Yeah. Like that shouldn't it's not like either way, you know, like it's not healthy to look at everything right now as a constant. Right. Things will always change. Embrace the change and like allow yourself to be different. Being a captain of a dance team, like now if you ask like 30 plus year old Saheer to be a captain, like damn, you're gonna have to pay me a lot to care. Like it's just that is a lot of work. And like thinking about like how I was back then, like as somebody who just like I yelled a lot, you know, like as somebody who corralled, you know, like my peers. It's like it's a different version of me that like just doesn't exist anymore. Right. But I do channel it when it comes time to bring people together. Sure. And when it comes time to effectively communicate, you know, like those things do come into play. So I thank those experiences, but like I can't always be a captain, you know, like that's not always going to be my life. Right. And so like those are phases, those are versions of you that eventually culminate, and then you get to do something like you said, like a podcast. Right. And where you can put all these versions of you on display, speak about these experiences. Hopefully, you know, we're helping you out with reinvention, really, and like embracing change.
Right. Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's reinvention is so important, and I'm sure the audience is like watching this and go like, all right, I get it, guys. Like, how do you do this? Like, how do
there you go.
Like, sure, yeah, sounds good. I want to fucking start my business, but like, I'm stuck here at Target working this shift, or like DoorDash, right? Yeah. Okay. Tell me what we're supposed to do. And I think step number one, we've discussed it so many times already in this episode, is we have to be able to visualize a different life.
Okay. Step one.
Yeah, I think so. Like, that's my belief. Or
me too.
Maybe, you know what? Step one could be the one before that, could be self-reflection. Maybe take some time, to reflect on yourself and see what you're feeling,
Pre-production, yeah.
Yeah. Feel it for real. Because like, people can get into routines every day doing the same thing over and over again and rarely take the time to like pause and question themselves, like, is this really what I want?
Right.
I think self-reflection is the number one.
All right, so step one, self-reflection.
See how you're feeling. Is this feeling good?
Take some time
to do that, to understand yourself, self-awareness. If like you have like a business idea, or if you have like a particular restaurant you want to open or something, like, really feel it, see like, is this what you really want to do with your life, and start questioning like why you're feeling stuck, because I feel like in my most difficult times in my life where I had to change, I felt stuck and not knowing how to get unstuck, so I think step number one should be to just reflect and understand that you're stuck, If you need change, even like, if you don't need change, that's great. Some people might be fine with it. That's
just keep
cool,
going,
right?
Rinse, repeat, keep going.
Yeah, that's fine. But like, recognize if you need to change, if you need something new in your life.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, like a friend of mine and his wife, like a couple's friend of mine. Yeah. A couple friend. Anyways, friend of mine.
Yeah, and his wife.
Yeah, friend of mine and his wife, they invest in real estate. Yeah. They both do corporate jobs, like they have corporate careers for a number of years. At one point, they realized that they're kind of good at real estate stuff and like fixing up the house and, doing all those, difficult tasks that I don't like to do, but like, homeowners love doing, I guess. Some people love it. Yeah. And there's those people. Yeah, and so they realized they're good at this. And then, they did the self-reflection, right? And they were like, dude, we should fucking do this. We should just invest whatever money we have into real estate. And now they have like a nice little portfolio growing, of investment properties. It's growing.
Nice.
But all that came from like not being stuck at the corporate job every day,
right?
But like asking the questions, like, what do we need?
What do we got to do?
Maybe we got to do XYZ for wealth. Cool, great idea. We can do it.
Let's start taking these steps now.
Yeah. So I think that's so important. You got to be able to believe that.
So that's that second step.
Yeah, being able to believe and visualize
see
yourself.
See a new future.
Yeah.
Right.
For this podcast, bro, I can tell you like how many times over the years I have imagined myself sitting here talking. I imagined talking to the camera because I wasn't sure, and then I was like imagining myself interviewing people.
Yeah.
But now we have a different setup here, which I love.
Totally.
Both of us together. This is just amazing.
Right.
But for many years, I pictured it. I just could visualize it. I knew I could do it.
Sure.
I just didn't know when or how or what.
But you were elastic with what the final look would be.
Right.
And that's what's really important too, is like not getting married to like just like what you see in your head.
Right.
But allowing yourself to now take steps on the ground to like eventually get to that vision in the head. Right. So yeah. So that was step 2, right? Sure, yeah. Was visualizing
being
a
able
better
to
future.
See that, yeah. Like even when I was talking about my Kansas City times, that reinvention of moving to Minneapolis and jumping into the tech world, it was like I had to be able to see myself doing that. Like as I was seeing myself as an entrepreneur at the time,
right?
And I was still, still an entrepreneur, but I had to visualize myself being an entrepreneur who's, doing the things, but has a corporate job in tech,
being able to see yourself like
see myself as
two
that
ways.
Guy,
right.
And for that purpose, like to be able to even be in that space in that corporate world, I had some tech skills already and knowledge around that, but I needed to upgrade my tech skills. You know, I had to take some courses. Learn new things. You know,
update the toolkit.
You know? And I would say that's number 3. You know, if you visualize yourself, you can do this.
Okay.
Then go learn the new skills related to that. You know.
Oh, okay.
With podcasting, luckily, you know, we both come from the music world.
Right.
For us, this is easy. Like, we've done this many times.
Right,
I've done documentaries. You've done so much of this, you know.
Sure.
Easy to us, you know. But still, we had to learn new skills, right? Before shooting this.
We did our due diligence in that side about just being able to do this side now, which is not something we've done before. Although the equipment and the environment might be familiar,
right?
It is a separate.
There are new skills involved.
It is a separate identity. At this stage.
That's right.
For sure.
You know, for many years, I've always been a creative, right? For a number of years, in the beginning parts of my creative journey, I was deep into Photoshop and graphics design. But not video stuff, not video editing or
no motion
anything related to motion, animation, anything like that. I used to see myself as I'm just the designer. I'm not the video guy. You know, I'd give that task to somebody else. But dude, one of these years, bro, number of years ago, I was I had the idea of a documentary, and I was I need to make this real, you know?
Wow.
I did that documentary just to learn my editing skills. I was you know what? I'm going to do this documentary just to learn fucking editing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's you taking charge of being something new, being a new version of yourself.
Right.
Adding on to the skill sets that you have already.
It's so important. Today I edit it's one of my favorite things to do is editing.
No.
I wouldn't have known this 10 years ago or 12 years ago. I would.
But it was because you wanted to see a documentary.
Yeah, I wanted to see a particular idea come into life.
Yeah.
And I was I'm just gonna make it myself, you know. And through this process, I'll learn the camera stuff and the editing. You know,
that takes a certain personality, though.
It took a while, but I learned. You know, it was really good.
It's a credit to your personality that you take on. Just because you have a passion for something, you want to see it, realized. Yeah. That means that, okay, we got to learn what now? Let's go. Let's sit down. Let's figure it out.
Yeah. And, for me, I don't want the audience to think that, I'm just, so good at so many different, it's nothing like that. What it was is that I really wanted to learn editing skills because I was building the music brand, It was all social media. Everything was video. And I felt oh no, I'm a little behind if I don't know how to make video edits, what am I doing running the creative side of a social media company, a company that advertises on social media,
That's true. You should be able to speak that language.
Yeah.
Right.
So for me, it was really I was motivated to do that.
Okay.
I had to, and it was fun. It ended up being awesome.
Nice.
But yeah, that is really point number 3 is really acquire the skills you need,
Yeah.
For those people in for my friends in real estate, they had to acquire the skills of, prospecting houses and fixing up fucking water heaters and shit like that.
Wow.
Which is different.
You gotta kind of learn on the job at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta learn.
But there weren't I guess there was courses and stuff. I'm sure they had to go through to get their licenses and things like that. Right? Or is this very much a?
They're investors, so they don't have to
nice.
They're not real estate agents.
Oh.
Yeah, they just invest in real estate.
Oh, okay.
Still, while working their jobs,
Interesting. Okay.
So yeah,
I see.
I mean, that's a good example of people out there who want to invest their money in real estate, but not ready to leave their jobs for this.
Yeah, you can do both things.
Yeah, you should be able to invest your money.
Nice.
But yeah. So,
wow.
Were you gonna say something?
No, I wasn't. Go ahead. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. That leads me to step number 4, which is take action. Take action from the skills that you learned. Now that's not just the most important part. Now the most important part is taking action with these skills. Implement those skills. For me, when I learned video editing, I moved those skills into the social media, the music brand that we were building, and just moved it to creating content. Till today I'm using those skills.
Right.
It was the same type of thing, and so taking that action is so important. But this is where maybe it's a little scary too, because prior to this, it was all internal, right? Step 1, thinking about, self-reflection is internal.
Right.
Then visualizing yourself for the future, internal. And then these skills, you're probably learning it at night.
You're learning. It's internal. You're internalizing.
It's just inside you.
You're right. Everything's all within now.
Yeah. But now
you got to merge.
Fuck. Yeah. Now here's the scary part, The other day I was watching this podcast by and they were interviewing Matt Dahlia. He's one of the creators of Yes Theory on YouTube. Yes Theory is an exceptional channel. For those out there, you should check it out. It's amazing. Sure. They travel the world. They create really dope content. Matt and his friends, Matt, Amar, and Thomas, they created this brand in their 20s, and then Matt turned 30, and went into his 30s, and he needed to change his life. Like, he was getting really burned out from content creation, over a decade, so he really, and it's a 3 people channel. Like, they're all 3 of them are faces of the channel, so it's a little hard to like switch that out, like leave that, and like he wanted to pursue other things. He was sick of it, and he had other skills. He wanted to write a book, and so like with writing the kind of book that he was writing, he couldn't like spend so much time in front of the camera. He needed to be writing, like in a fucking room, with everything closed off,
zoned off.
Yeah. He was talking about reinvention in this podcast, and I thought it was so interesting because he was mentioning that when you want to change and you have within yourself to change and reinvent yourself as somebody new, you can do it, but the people you used to work with, people you vibe with so much. He wasn't talking about necessarily his partners in that show in Yes Theory, but he was giving an example of like people you work with. You had so much closeness, but now because you're wanting to do something else, it becomes a sort of threat to their existence. Now they're asking themselves like, well, am I not
doing
enough? Am I not doing enough? Am I not self-reflecting enough?
Shit,
like
maybe.
Yeah. This, I'm happy with this job. Why does this guy want to not do this job?
But then like you should also be confident and secure enough that like not everything is for everyone,
right?
So like if you see somebody else looking for something more, that doesn't necessarily mean what you have is anything less.
No,
it's just like, so I think self-awareness is huge in that regard.
It's important, but that experience happens over and over again. Like,
it does, but like it's important you don't I guess like go off of people's expectations of you. And that like you can only be this way, or that like your value is this.
Yes.
So just stay that. And it's like, nah, like
yeah,
I can do more, and I can be this for you too, but I'm gonna go ahead and do this other thing. You might want to let the next person that wants to do this thing come on up and try, because folks are gonna be anchors that way, and they shouldn't be.
Yeah, and that's the hope that we have, that other people don't feel threatened, by your growth.
Ideal, yeah.
But that's ideal, like this experience happens over and over and over.
I'll be honest,
again.
that isn't like, I guess I'm just not out there enough.
No, sure.
But
I'll give you examples.
Yeah,
like,
I wanted to know.
I would say like, when I was doing corporate job in the tech world and building, a music brand and a tech consultancy at that time, I was ready to switch from that into the tech consultancy stuff. Like I wanted to leave the corporate job. Mm-hmm. I felt that, people at the workplace were questioning like my decision to leave this, everything's great and everything's going good. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? And I was recently reading this book, How Are You Really by Jenna Kutcher.
Okay.
It's a really interesting book. She's a podcast host. She's got her own podcast. She went through a number of reinventions. She used to work in a corporate job, and then she had this passion for photography. She didn't know how to do anything, but she had a passion for it.
Wow.
And she reinvented herself to become a photographer, and then started a wedding business, like a wedding photography business. Okay. Made a lot of money doing that. Got burned out because it was like every weekend she had a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Got burned out, wanted to change her life again, had kids, and then she switched and started building her personal brand and podcast. Now she has a book and all this stuff, right?
Sure.
But even she in the book writes about this experience of like when she wanted to change, leave the job, people were questioning, like her coworkers, her family, her friends. Sure you sure you want to do this photography thing? Like, is it really like can you do it? Like,
Is there any money there?
Yeah, is there any money there? Like,
right.
You never even done it. So what are you gonna do? You gonna make money with this?
Sure.
Like,
yeah, that must be difficult to have to field those questions.
Yeah, and this is a common experience,
Yeah.
And she writes that she writes about this, and so did Matt Dahlia. Matt Dahlia in his podcast, he was talking about the same thing, is that these things happen around you because like people don't want to question their own existence like so much, you know, like maybe you do, but everybody's not like you, you know, like everybody's not like me. Nobody, like not everybody wants to like reinvent themselves all the time. Like to some people it's very difficult to move. Like I just left Minneapolis and moved to California, you know. Before that I moved from Missouri to Minneapolis. Before that Saudi Arabia to Missouri. Right. Before that, you know, Bangladesh and Saudi. Like to me it's something different, you know, but to everybody else it's not.
You're conditioned differently.
Yeah, for me it's like whatever, bro, let's go, you know. But to some people it isn't, you know. So like they may question this, and this, you know, when you're taking the action is when you're going to get these questions the most. And it's a difficult phase to go through, but
what do they say? How do they say to deal with that?
Great. I mean, Jenna Kutcher in her book suggests like to just push through, you know, like understand the people around you are feeling this way, but that's okay. It's not about them, you know, understand them, but you know, it's about you, what makes you happy. Like if within you, you're feeling really great and happy about this new
be secure
identity.
In that.
Yeah. Be secure in that. Right. Do that. Like, it's okay. It'll make you happy.
Yeah.
It makes me so happy and joyful to do this podcast, you know?
Likewise. Yep.
It's what I want to do. I reinvented myself as a podcast host, you know, because I wanted to do it. Like this just is so much fun for me.
Yeah.
Even when I'm sitting and editing content, it's just fun for me, you know?
Right.
I can't picture myself sitting in a cubicle somewhere doing something not this.
Yeah,
you know,
can't do it. And just being a cog in the machine somewhere. Yeah.
And I think, you know, that's why the importance of taking action and trusting the process, you know? Take that action, trust the process. That's number 4, I think. You know,
take action, trust the process.
Yeah.
Cool.
And, you know, that's, you know, it's just like, it's so simple, you know, to even think about it this way. But I know it's not simple.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. We're reiterating the fact that it's hard.
It's hard.
Yeah, and don't want to minimize people's struggles when it comes to being a better person, a better version of themselves.
Right.
Absolutely.
In our habits episode, I think episode 5 or 6, 6, I think, we were talking about putting a vote towards that identity a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
And that is also important, you know, in these steps that I'm saying. The action step doesn't have to be today we're just gonna start doing something
full
else.
Blown.
Yeah, we're gonna quit everything.
Yeah.
No more of that job. You know, although, you know, you may need that. You know, if somebody's in like a difficult marriage and like have to get out, you know, things like that happen too.
You do,
You probably should do it fast, you know, but
sooner than later.
But if it's something else that you can afford to do a little bit at a time, then do a little bit at a time.
Right,
don't quit the job.
Don't put that kind of shock on yourself, on your mentality.
Yeah.
To like just expect yourself to be different the next day rolling out of bed. Like you
hard.
gotta try these little votes.
Yeah.
And
little bit at a time. You can change 1% at a time.
Yeah.
You know, like we talked in depth about this in the habits episode, number 6. You can go back and listen to that. But like, you know, like James Clear said, you know, in Atomic Habits, 1% at a time. Just put a little bit of vote every day. If it's an art thing that you want to do, but you're a lawyer, just do the art like 5 hours a week.
Get a little sketch in.
Get a little bit in, you know.
Right.
A little bit. You know, for Jenna Kutcher, when she was doing her podcast, she used to go into a closet. No, in her car. Her first episodes was like she didn't have soundproofing stuff like we do, so she got in her car and she would just record in a little mic, and it sounded like that, right?
Wow!
And today, like she's got millions of downloads, and she's very popular.
Wow! She
does it in a closet still, but those little steps were her votes towards that identity, you know?
Right.
Just a little bit.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the podcast didn't take off on day one. She still did wedding photos, and then she
eventually transition out of that.
Yeah, and now she's got a book, you know?
Right, now she's now she's an author as well.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're going to watch this video like after some time in the future.
Sure.
We're going to be like, oh shit, that's us.
That's a whole different.
Like, Jenna Kutcher, like we're telling Jenna Kutcher's story today, but in the future us will be like, that's our story.
Yeah, right,
you know,
there.
We have the book too today.
It's gonna be awesome.
That's interesting, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely. And you move forward with intent that way.
Yeah.
That like we're gonna change, we're gonna allow ourselves to change, be different, and then shout out to the people around us, all our loved ones that allow us to be different and allow us to change and keep keep our I guess our satisfaction kind of at the forefront of what we do, because like we do have to do different things, and I don't like only mix things that I love, right? Like this, it is a job, but these things, having the space to do this and to now like forge this new identity, like it's awesome, and it's a privilege, like for sure.
It sure is. Like it's exciting,
like always having something new to learn, and then adding that to who I am, and then applying that elsewhere in life. I think that also elevates the other parts of my life too, and enriches whatever else I got going on.
Right.
So this whole reinvention side.
Yeah, it's like it's tough.
It's perpetual.
The journey is tough, but on the other side is a whole new version of you.
Yeah.
And that version is so proud of going through this difficulty.
Sure.
And that's why like I want to implore the audience to like lean into that side of you who wants to do these new things, who wants to start a business or start cooking, becoming a chef, or like stuck in a job or a marriage, or not a marriage, but like I'm not here to give relationship advice, so fuck that. But like stuck in something, but want to do something new. I want to implore them to like do it, but that step of like doing the action is where the most difficulty is. And if you know that in advance, then maybe that helps you go through it faster. Eric Thomas says like everybody wants to be a beast until it's time to do what beasts do.
Which is be beastly. Everybody, like that's the whole point, is like there's a process, there's a struggle to this. Like you got to get up and do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's important. And while we're doing all these things, I think the final step is review. Look back and review. If you're trying to go through this reinvention process, it's more important to like review constantly, like very often review the progress, so that you feel like you're doing something new, like your new identity is getting there, If you don't review it, you may not even see it. If you don't review it, you may not even know that if you're doing it right or wrong, or if it's still feeling okay, if it's still not feeling,
So, okay, for sure. With five is review. That's
I would say so. Like,
for sure.
I think that's important in any kind of new habit that anybody's trying to create, right? Like, if you're creating a new habit, it's important to like make the daily checks, like marking it off on the calendar. And that's the kind of review that you get. Like, you get like all the marks in the calendar. Oh, am I really doing it? Am I not? For a new habit. And so that I'm just associating that with this, behavioral change, this new reinvention of a new identity. That little review process, even if it's small, it helps you understand, do I like this new reinvention? For us in this podcast, we do a little retrospective every few weeks, and it's important for us to keep those meetings in a very open environment. We keep them as like any feedback is fine. It's whatever, everything is good. Like we come at it with a positive attitude because of this purpose. We want to review, but we don't want to like as you were saying, we don't want to like create an obstacle in our way, or by like overanalyzing, that's the word.
Okay.
Overanalyzing, or being in this feedback loop, type of thing.
We
just want to figure out if it's okay, everything's positive,
as long as everybody's happy.
We're getting some feedback. Okay, here's some adjustments, move on, move forward.
Right. And that's there's a balance there.
There's
100%.
a balance there.
For sure.
That kind of like a review process like helps.
Yes, sir.
So that's what I think. Like anybody who's trying to reinvent themselves,
trying to be a better version.
A better version of themselves. These few steps are just the kind of way, just a few steps to take towards that. Obviously the journey is harder. But hopefully we can create content that can help the audience, and
absolutely,
there's a lot of content creators out there also creating content to help people change and improve and learn new skills.
And just being open, with their knowledge.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. So like as a quick review, it would be like step one is to self-reflection, self-awareness, see how you're feeling. If you really need to reinvent yourself, are you feeling uncomfortable with your life right now?
Right.
And then step 2 would be to like, can you really visualize yourself doing this new thing that like is really like eating at you inside?
Yeah.
And then, step 3 would be to learn the new skills associated with this new vision of yourself.
Right.
And then the next step 4 would be to take action.
And trust the process.
Take action, trust the process.
I love that.
Repeatedly show up.
Yes, sir.
Like we're doing here, we're always here for the podcast.
Yeah.
It's working. And then, step 5, the final step is evaluate.
Yeah.
Evaluate, assess, and then adjust if you need to,
Yeah.
That makes sense. Like, there's this part, you know what? I got to read this, bro. Like, I don't want to like...
Hit me.
I don't want to end this episode without reading this, but there's this particular part in this book by Jenna Kutcher.
Pretty tassel over here.
How are you really?
Yeah.
Thank you. But one second. Okay, here it is. She says, like, we fall back on what's practical. We crave an identity shift, but we refuse to fully believe that we're capable of this newness. She's right. Like, I've craved an identity shift for many years.
Right.
But I have shifted my identity in many ways, but it does feel like a craving for a shift, but at the same time feels like we're not ready for this new identity, like there's this feeling.
That's wild. No, like and I appreciate that, like, as like an experience, but for me, like, in terms of this podcast, like, I remember for myself that, like, I do want to change, and I am ready for whatever this may be. I'm ready to not only be defined by my artistry, but by what else I have to offer. So when you came up with that idea, like, I didn't really have to take the time to like visualize myself, like that was something that I've been like waiting for this bus, and like, here comes Raf, like saying the exact words I've been thinking, that like, yo, let's start something new, let's start something, let's be something different out here, and like not do everything just like behind the scenes and hope that the effects trickle out. Like, nah, let's actually get out in front and put our experiences out there.
Right.
So then at that point, like, visualizing myself, reinventing myself as your co-host, like, it wasn't that hard. And so for me to show up and trust the process is not that hard. Right. And that's why every review session comes up, it's been like, man, like, let's get it. Like, like, and we figure out things as we go. Like, and I think you'll be able to see that with anything that you experience in life. Like, from all walks of life, like, things get better. Like, normally they do. Right. So I'm happy, man. I'm happy about this reinvention of myself here. Right. Right. And for weeks to come. Yeah. Hell yeah. That's the mentality, that we, implore the audience to go into. Yep. Go into new things with that mentality of like, let's just see what happens, Try it out, test it out, put 1% improvement every day. And as Nipsey Hussle says, be your biggest fan, be your biggest fan through these processes. Yeah. Like, even if it's hard at the beginning, doing anything new can be hard at the beginning. Expect it to be difficult for you. Like, if it's something new, something different you're doing, it can be hard. But like, just like Nipsey Hussle, be your biggest fucking fan. Yeah. That'll help. Rally through. Rally yourself through that. Yeah. That's the most important thing. For sure. And and as we mentioned, just trust the process as you're getting into this reinvention. Be kind to yourself. Yeah. Because reinventing can be hard. A lot of people, like, I know this day and age, like, people have to get on social media to make their businesses successful. If that's a challenge to you, like, you're starting to get on social media for the first time to promote your business, it can be tough, Yeah. So, like, just be kind to yourself. Don't worry about the comments. If you're starting YouTube for the first time, don't worry about the comments. Don't worry about the hate or like, or the views, like the views, the likes, numbers. Don't give a fuck about the numbers. Yeah. Is it making you happy? Yeah. That's the question to ask. Revert back to that. Yeah, revert back to that. Is it making you happy? Trust the process. Show up. Do the right thing. And live your full unfiltered selves. Live your authentic selves, unfiltered selves, but don't be an asshole. That's all we ask. That's the episode. Thank you. Yeah. Saheer. Yeah.